I'm going to talk about some of my childhood memories from growing up to 18 years old, from birth to 18 years old. So the first memory I'm going to talk about was from the ages of 4 to 7 years old when I lived on a boat for 3.5 years in Florida and the Bahamas. So I saw a giant sea turtle abduction where this little boat had a giant sea turtle flopping around in the boat, and then the people who caught the sea turtle in the Bahamas, the giant sea turtle, they said they were going to sell the sea turtle to somebody, and then they had lobsters in the boat, and then we bought some of the lobsters from them for like $1 each. And then another memory I have from my childhood when I was 4 to 7 years old on the boat is I was supposed to clean oatmeal out of a pot, and then I'd put the pot in the water, and then these tiny fish would swim into the pot, and then I'd pull the pot up out of the water, and there'd be a fish in the pot, and then I put some of the fish into the dinghy, and then I didn't know that fish need to stay in the water to stay alive, so then some of the little fish died in the dinghy boat where I was washing the oatmeal off of the pot, and then I started crying because the fish died, and I didn't understand that I had done something wrong by taking the fish out of the water. The fish need to stay either in the ocean water or in the water in the pot, not just sit in the boat flopping around. Another memory I have is there was a barracuda under the sailboat that we lived in. And then one time I was running on the dock, and then I fell off the dock and I almost drowned. And then I was able to reach up and grab a pipe underneath the docks, or the wooden docks that I was running on. And then I was too scared to call for help at first. Then eventually I was able to say, "Help, help." And then eventually somebody helped me out of the water when I was grabbing onto the pipe. And then some of my relatives, like my grandfather and my aunt, they caught alligators and they ate them by their properties. And then I grew up with a little BB gun, and I had plastic safety goggles, and then I would use a wooden board on the wall of my bedroom, and then I'd put up plastic army men, like from, what's that? To Infinity Beyond movie with the little toys. I'll think of it later. It's a Disney movie, and there's Buzz Lightyear in the movie. But those little plastic army men, like in that movie, and then I'd set them up, and then I'd shoot them with my BB gun, and then I'd wear my plastic goggles to keep my eyes safe. And then one time that was when I was 7 to 10 years old, when I would shoot the plastic army men. And then when I was 10 to 13 years old, I built a Lego helicopter, kind of like in the Lego movie, and then I followed the instructions perfectly to how to build the Lego helicopter, and then I had it for like 3 to 5 days, and then my friend, I think his name was Cole Stanchfield, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. I tried to find him on Facebook once, and then he accidentally broke the helicopter. He knocked it on the floor, and then he was explaining to me that I don't have to perfectly follow the instructions like in the Lego movie, that you can just build little aircrafts without following instructions. And then he built a little aircraft without following instructions, and then we started building little aircrafts on our own without instructions. And then I was like, no, you need to follow the instructions. So that's kind of a funny memory. But I was a little disappointed that the helicopter got broken so quickly after I finished building it according to the directions. I wished it had lasted a bit longer, or that I had gotten to photograph it or something. That reminded me of a story of my mom. She built a little Lego Lego person with bendy legs for me when I was 4 to 7 years old living on the boat. And then I didn't want a Lego person. I wanted her to build me a race car. So then I just knocked the Lego man onto the floor and it broke. And then she worked hard in that Lego person to try to make me happy with it. And I wanted a race car. So that made me feel bad later on that I hadn't have just been thankful that my mom built me a little Lego person. Instead, I had wanted a race car, Lego race car at the time. And then my mom, she taught me how to read with Dr. Seuss books. I remember in Montana when I was 3 to 4 years old. And then I was born in Florida, but then I moved to Montana. And then I moved back to Florida when I was like 4 years old. And then I lived on a boat from 4 to 7 years old in the Florida and Bahamas, like in Key West and Miami. And then when I was 4 to 7 years old, my mom taught me how to read with the Bible and the Goosebumps books. And then one time, the lightning struck in Montana when I was 3 to 4 years old, and I went running, and my dad had to catch me, and then my dad was laughing at how fast I had been running after the lightning struck, and then he had a hard time catching me. I was running so fast because the lightning scared me. And then another time lightning struck in my life was when my parents had the Thief in the Night and Distant Thunder movies that they were showing as Christian missionaries in a boat to the Bahamians. And then they were talking to this person, and then they were asking what movie we were showing as missionaries with a movie projector, and we said A Distant Thunder, and then lightning struck out of a tiny little cloud in the sky. And then my dad laughed and said that God was advertising for us. And then I almost got struck by lightning at it when I was 4 to 7 years old, is the Distant Thunder lightning incident. And then when I was 10 to 13 years old, living in Cocoa Beach, Florida, we went fishing with a fishing pole during a lightning storm on the beach, and then lightning almost struck us, and then I threw the fishing pole, and then I leapt in the air when my hair started rising on end, and then lightning, I think, struck the fishing pole instead of striking me when I threw the fishing pole. And then when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I downloaded a bunch of Audible audiobooks to help me sleep at night. And then I read Audible audiobooks that you can download now as an author of a novel, a Bible translation, and a bunch of nonfiction how-to audiobooks that teach you how to do stuff. I remember there was a memory of when I tried to catch a large frog in a Utah river when I was between the ages of 15 to 17 years old, and then my dad was worried about me looking for me on his bicycle, and then he thought that maybe I fell in the river and hit my head and drowned to death or something. So then he was riding his bike up and down this bike trail looking for me, and then he couldn't see me, and then I was trying to catch this frog in the water. And then my grandfather said that my dad was upset when I came back to the little camp that we were living at in the little motorhome. And then that was my dad's dad. And then my dad's dad, he fought in the front lines of World War II, and nearly everybody died except for him. I think there was only like one other person who survived out of 100 or hundreds of people. And then my grandfather nearly had a heart attack when the machine gun scene happened in Back to the Future, when Doc Brown gets shot or nearly gets shot by the machine gun, and then he wears the bulletproof vest in the future. And then I used to go target shooting with my dad and my grandfather and my dad's Vietnam veteran friend when I was 7 to 10 years old. My Aunt Linda cooked a delicious deer once in the oven. I think it was in the oven. And then there's a Morro Bay jerky shop that has exotic jerky that I've eaten that has like snapping turtle, snake, I think it's a python snake, kangaroo, boar, deer, fish, shark, duck, cow, etc. Different types of jerkies that are exotic. And I've eaten all those types of jerkies there. And then I got into Disney World for free dozens of times between the ages of 7 to 13 when my dad worked there, so he got us free tickets to Disney World. I took male and female friends to Disney with me in those years, and then two of my friends were named Jerry or Gerard. Jerry was his nickname, and Gerard was his real name. I don't remember his last name. It was in Kissimmee, Florida. And then my female friend I took to Disney World with me was Connie. And then I think I took some other friends there, but I don't remember which ones or if I actually took anyone else to Disney World with me, but I got in for free dozens of times. And then I still like watching the Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Nye the Science Guy energy ride, Disney ride on YouTube, and I put it on repeat on loop, and then I'll listen to it going on a loop in order to help me fall asleep sometimes. So it'll just play over and over again while I have my headphones on, and then I'll fall asleep listening to it play over and over again. And then I also liked the Alien Encounter and the Bugs Life rides that are gone now, and then sometimes I'll listen to or watch those on YouTube. The Bugs Life ride, it just takes like 11 minutes to watch. And then my dad took me on lots of trips, jogging, where you go jogging together, bike rides, boating trips, we'd lift weights together, surfing trips, go for hikes in the mountains starting at 13 years old when we lived in a motorhome for a year in 26 different states, and then we lived in Colorado when I was 15 years old to 17 years old. And we went on fishing trips, and we used to do other fun things growing up. And then my dad bought a windsurfer. We had surfboards from ages 10 to 13 in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which was where Kelly Slater learned to surf. And then we had a windsurfer once, but the sail was too heavy, so it was hard to stand up and hold the sail. But we tried to have fun on it anyhow. We had more fun on the surfboards. We went surfing. We had an O'Hara surfboard, and then we had a lot of fun on that before I got snapped in half by a wave eventually. It was a pretty strong surfboard. It was a pretty big wave that landed right in the middle of the surfboard and broke it in half. We had a lot of fun on it until it broke in half. So those are some. And then I used to go flying up in the air off of the backs of waves. I'd try to fly up in the air as high as I could off the backs of waves in Florida on my somewhat short board. I think I had like a 7-foot board or an 8-foot board that was shaped like a short board. And then I think they call a board like that a fun board. So that's some of my childhood memories. And we used to surf in hurricanes. So I think Hurricane Dennis and Hurricane Floyd were two of the hurricanes that I remember sending waves towards us in Cocoa Beach. Hurricane Floyd, I think, was a Category 4, and then Dennis, I don't remember what category that was. It might have been like a 2 or something, I don't remember. So those are some of my childhood memories from birth to 17 years old growing up that I wanted to share.